is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Credit Lake. Today I'm reading part 13 and 14 of Misunderstanding, a Sandershead's fanfic by ElliottGreen333 on Wattpad. If you'd like to support the author or the book, please check out the links in the description to get to both. And, talented. And with that, here we go to part 13, Logan. It's been a full week now since Thomas called us for a meeting that day. Pat and I have been working to help him while Roman seems to be having some sort of breakdown. We haven't seen him since that day. He's yet to leave his room. So has Virgil, though. He's been upstairs for a long time now, too. Sure, he comes down to the kitchen sometimes, but when he does, he makes a small platter of food and then leaves. It's like he's having a picnic with someone or something, because he hasn't been around, though. We haven't been talking all that much. I really miss him. Every time he does come downstairs, he seems super stressed. I want to ask him what's the matter, but I also don't want to make things worse. His anxiety seems to be heightened. I just wish I could help him. But that doesn't mean I haven't been busy also, because Roman and Virgil are both busy with whatever's going on. Pat and I have been on full Thomas duty. Instead of the workload being balanced between the four of us, it's been on only two of us. I didn't realize how important both of them are to Thomas until this. Virgil not being around as much, Thomas gets careless. He doesn't save the scripts he writes, doesn't look both ways before crossing the street, nor does he lock his car. And things have been stolen out of it twice now. Twice. And then there's Roman. Where do I even begin with that? Pat and I can't create Thomas's idea for him without them being not creative. Whenever I try to give him some sort of creative whims, it turns into a script of a medical documentary instead of a Sandershead's episode. When Patton tries to do it, it sounds like a joke book. All in all, we can't do what those two do. Not together, anyway. We need to get those two back down here so we could try and take care of Thomas. I exited my room, heading towards Virgil's door. My hands got sweatier and sweatier as the door came closer. It's not like I've never talked to him before, but I've never had to tell him to do his job better. This was something I didn't want to do, but for the sake of Thomas, it had to be done. I knocked on the door, pushing my hair out of my face. "Virgil, are you there?" I called out to it. There was nothing for a while. That was until I heard a different door open. I looked around, seeing Virgil poke out of Roman's door. I was a bit taken back. When have he and Roman been so close? As far as I know, never. They've never gotten along that well. This news made me a little nervous. "Need something, Logan?" he asked. I realized how I had been staring, so I straightened up my act and walked over to him. "Sorry to bother, Virgil, but there is something rather important we should discuss," I bluntly told him. He shyly nodded, slipping out of the prince's room and shutting the door. If he wasn't trying to hide his nervousness, he wasn't doing a very good job. "What's going on?" he asked. "Well, I'd like to ask you that first. You've been spending an awfully long time upstairs recently. I just want to know if you're okay." He grew a red hue around his cheeks. I did as well. I wasn't sure if this was an attempt at flirting or not, but he got the vibe. I was okay with that. I've just been a bit more heightened since the whole deceit thing and Roman's little breakdown. I've just been trying to stay in my room and make sure my energy doesn't hurt Thomas," he explained. "Virgil, that's a sweet sentiment, but that's a lot for you to handle. I know how bad your anxieties get sometimes, but you shouldn't keep them from Thomas forever. You know what happened when you ducked out," I reminded him. He turned towards his shoes, flustering a little bit. I'm sorry if that came off as harsh. I just care, not only for Thomas, but for you." I took his hands in my own. We locked eyes. His cocoa-like irises made my heart melt as they seemed to water up just a little. I pushed back some of his hair behind his ear, getting a good look at him. Sorry, Logan," he muttered. I don't want to hurt Thomas. I've just been trying to not hurt him, I guess. I understand. I brought him into a hug. This felt good. I missed him after pretty much no contact for a full 7 days. When we pulled apart, he seemed much better. Is Roman gonna be okay? I asked. What? Oh, yeah, he suddenly exclaimed. Yeah, I was just in there trying to help him, since, I understand mental breakdowns and stuff. Just trying to do what I do best. He nervously laughed. All right, just take it easy. With that, I leaned in and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. His face turned into that of a tomato. I laughed, watching his starstruck look melt into pleasure. Good night. Good night, Lo, he muttered, drunk with happiness. He went back into Roman's room. My heart swelled. I did it. I made a move. Yes. Surely I had to celebrate. I danced down to the kitchen. No one else was in there, so I quietly made myself some wheat bread toast while I pulled out some jam from the fridge. When my toast was done, I smothered the jam on it and dug in. Crofters, how I love you. Part 14. Virgil. I jerkily walked back into Roman's room. My heart was beating like a hammer to a nail. I could not believe he kissed me. I felt like I was floating on air. Everything felt perfect. It was as if nothing else mattered. I wanted to go back to Logan and cuddle or watch another documentary, but I was snapped back into reality by Roman's voice. There you are, he cheered. My blushed face faded, being instead served a full plate of disgust. Deceit and I have been working nonstop for the past week trying to get Roman's memories back. More so Deceit, though, especially since he had the magic. I've been more for moral support. Roman ran up to me, giving me a gentle and loving smile. He's been giving me lots of odd looks lately. Deceit thinks I'm getting paranoid, but the more it happens, the less I believe him. Geez, I was only gone for like a second, I told him, scooting away from him. A second too long, he exaggerated, dragging his body along behind me. I walked over to Deceit. He was sitting at Roman's desk, which was now swamped with sticky notes and scribbles of possible spells or trigger words we could use to get Roman's memories back. Deceit was getting more emotionally drained than I was, probably because he's refused to sleep until Roman's cured, while I value my 3 hours of sleep. I joined him at the desk, putting my hand on his shoulder. Did you tell him? I grumbled. I did not tell Logan, I sighed. He was getting a little bit nasty towards me as well. Since we haven't talked to anyone else in a while, we're thinking the other two are on to us. So far, we're in a web of lies so deep it's like mud. Did we try this yet? Deceit asked. He handed me a piece of paper before laying his head down on the desk. The paper was riddled with some things that might trigger Roman's memories. I read it over, seeing many things that we've already tried before. But I did see one thing that we have yet to do. That one, I said, pointing to it. He looked up at it, nodding in agreement. He stood up and went over to the prince. With my help, we got Roman to sit down on his bed again. With that, Deceit put his hand on his shoulder, looking deep in the eyes. You are the twin brother of Remus. You were fused a long time ago. You were Romulus. Does that ring a bell to you? Roman looked a little lost. I crossed my fingers. This is the farthest we've gotten with him. He actually seems to be remembering something. Deceit stepped back, wanting for him to speak. Remus? He repeated. We both nodded, getting a little bit giddy. And Romulus, he said again. We nodded, our hopes getting high. Which one of them is my brother? God damn it! Deceit screamed. He bashed his fist into the desk, watching it crumble underneath his strength. He crashed into the chair of what was the desk. With his head in his hands, he left both Roman and I speechless. I timidly approached Deceit, trying not to get my head bitten off in the process. It's okay, Deceit. We'll try again. I mean, there are so many more things we haven't tried, right? I said, hoping to lighten the mood. Just say it, Virgil, he mumbled in response. I became confused as he continued to sulk. Just admit it. I fucked Thomas for the rest of his life. The old Roman's gone, and he's never coming back. Hey, don't say that. We're so close, Deceit. I can feel it. Surely you can, too. No, I don't. Why don't you enlighten me? He sarcastically spat, standing up from his chair. He turned over to face me. He looked absolutely defeated and exhausted. His eyes were strained red from all of his tears and sleepless nights. You've seen better days, Roman's unhelpful comment added. I scoffed, wrapping my arms around the tired snake, giving him a hug. Why don't we take a break? You need to go to sleep. We all do. He eventually agreed with me. I watched him go over to the door, shape-shifting into Roman just in case, before leaving. I loosely smiled, giving off a heavy sigh. At least tomorrow we can go back at this with a clear head. I turned back to the real Roman. He was suddenly standing right in front of me, making me jump. I didn't even realize he was near me. Roman, you're really close to me, I stuttered. Wordlessly, he backed me into a wall. He shook his hands on either side of me, trapping me. My breath started coming in short. I couldn't get enough air in my body. What the hell is going on? Roman? I questioned. You're so beautiful, Virgil. Has anyone ever told you that? He asked. His pants had a bulge in them. Frick! Is this really happening? He was giving me the same look he has been the entire time we've been trying to help him out. Is this really all he wanted? Roman, I know you don't have your memories right now, but you've got to listen. You don't love me. You love Patton. I don't want Patton right now. He locked his lips onto mine. I hummed in surprise. My arms felt like jelly as my panic attacks started to become more stronger. I didn't have the strength to push back. All I could do was silently cry as his kiss became more aggressive. A little bit of light came through the room. I looked at the source, seeing Logan standing in Roman's doorway, watching. No. This can't be happening. Roman finally pulled apart. I took in a big gasp of air before extending my hand to the logical side. Logan, I called out. Instead of answering, he looked down at the floor. New streams of water fell down his face as he quietly shut the door. I bit my lip, willing myself not to cry. I looked back at Roman, seeing the lust in his irises. He leaned in for another kiss, but I wasn't having it. My leg bolted up, connecting with his crotch. He let out a scream, falling to the floor in pain. For you, I yelled to Roman. Bursting out the door, I noticed Deceit was gone. He isn't my priority right now. Logan is. Rushing down the hall, I watched Logan's door shut. I ran over, pounding on the door. Logan, please, let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, Virgil. If you have something for Roman, I shouldn't stop that. I should have realized that since you've been spending so much time with him. I just thought we had something really special. I realized a sob, wiping tears on my jacket sleeve. We do, Logan. This is a giant misunderstanding. Please open the door. I heard the sound of the door lock. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I just cried. I leaned against Logan's dark wooden door and cried, sinking onto the floor. I sobbed for what felt like hours. Everything was falling apart. All because Deceit, having no fucking control of his powers. I heard another door open. Peeking around the corner, I noticed Deceit walking out of Patton's room. He appeared to have been crying. I gasped, watching his head snap up to meet me. A grim expression took over his features as he headed towards the door to head back to his home. Thank you so much for listening. In the description, there is links to things like my Etsy shop where you could buy beaded things, the Discord server where you could talk to other Dicks and Drakes, a TikTok where I do senior sites cosplays, as well as a whole bunch of other things in which you could stay caught up with me on. Once again, thank you for listening. Stay tuned in for next week, and like always, do your best.